Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hello, welcome to TFYLP, episode 483. We are live tonight, Monday, May 30th. I'm Lucas. I'm joined tonight by Phil.
Hi.
And Paul.
What up?
There you go. So, our Memorial Day special here, right?
Yeah, why are we doing this again?
Because TFYLP is half off.
Certainly is.
So, I don't know. The show must go on, I suppose. So, just because some people have the day off, we don't.
Well, we did.
Yeah, right. But force you guys to come on tonight. So,
I mean, our real job we still have to do tonight.
Yes, there you go. The number one priority, right?
Exactly.
Do tonight. So
Yeah, the work week starts right now.
there you go. So we the news and rumors just keep coming, I guess, for Transformers.
There's no rumors. It's all news.
Well, I mean,
All news.
It hasn't officially been announced by Hasbro.
I always give people shit when they're like, possible photo of the first ever Black Convoy. It's like, oh, nope, it's just a weird sample that got out that's never going to get released. That happens all the time. It's like, come on, guys. Have some balls.
But now, like, I mean, it's like full packaging. Like, it looks like it's like ready to just be put on the shelf. I'm honestly kind of surprised that we haven't had a sighting at this point wherever, and we don't even know where it's supposed to come out at, right?
What?
I guess what I'm talking about is the Velocitron, what is it? Speed Racer 500.
It is the Velocitron Speedia 500 collection, exclusive to a little store called Walmart.
Right.
That has listings up for it.
Right, but
possible package sample of possibly Walmart exclusive Speedia something. I don't know. Not sure.
Right. But we're supposed to have, what is it? Walmart's having another collector con. What is it? The June, is it 21st? Something like that?
It's how they're celebrating Juneteenth, I'm sure.
Oh.
Was it Walmart or some other store that had to take down Juneteenth shirts?
I don't know.
I can't keep track, Phil.
It was some larger national chain store that had Juneteenth shirts. Because it's a national holiday now, so everyone's going to celebrate it. And the models they used it on, they had in the pictures were white models that they had modeling the shirts on the website. So
I mean, you could wear it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't not be, excited for it, but this doesn't feel like it's a, let me go buy my Juneteenth memorabilia.
Right.
Well, maybe us, but.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why they're celebrating with toys, because it's less controversial, of course, And they're not. We're just
making that up.
Flamboyantly loose with my verbiage tonight.
In the previous collector cons that Walmart has done, have they dropped a whole line like this before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the Netflix line.
Reissues,
yeah,
right?
wasn't the Netflix was kind of the same way.
Okay.
Yeah. All. I mean, it was weird because with War for Cybertron, it was all encompassing, so they didn't really, it's like every wave would have been like its own imprint, but that's not the way Walmart was doing it this time. They're kind of taking a cue from I would say Amazon's sort of playbook here.
Yeah.
So, but this time, are they actually going to have the product potentially ready around the time that it's ordering? Because, like, the trouble I feel like that Walmart has had in the past with these is it goes up 6 months ahead of time. And then by the time it actually is ready to come out, they start canceling your order because they're not set up to have 6-month pre-orders. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah. It'll come out just in time for the imaginary movie and TV show that these are all tied into.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that could be on the new... isn't there like a new Transformers streaming service? We got news of that as well.
Yeah, from Pluto TV. Like, what is that?
Wait, what? I've not heard of this one yet.
That's just, I mean, I wouldn't, that's not as, it's just, they're just playing old stuff. Like, they bought, like, license to stream all these old Transformer shows. Like, it's not really.
Speaking of which, do either of you two have Paramount Plus?
No.
Someone in my family does. I don't, like, directly have it.
Yeah, because you know, I've got a friend who has it, and I've been using his password for it in exchange for my Hulu password. And I tried to show my son parts of Age of Extinction last night because they filmed the final battle scene between Lockdown and Optimus Prime in Chicago, even though it's supposed to be China. And so we went to a street fest last night that we literally drive past that building to go to the street fest. I'm like, all right, let me show my son the scene. And for the life of me, could not get the movie pulled up on Paramount Plus, nor could I get anything pulled up for my kids today on Paramount Plus. So you can watch the Transformers movies in there in theory, but not in execution.
Aren't they all on HBO?
I don't know. I know I saw on Paramount Plus last night and Age of Extinction were on there. I didn't dig around that much.
It's all weird because, like, a lot of these things were, you know, used to be on Netflix or wherever it was, or HBO, but now, like, everyone has their own streaming service, and so I think it's probably all on Paramount Plus at this point. But I think
it would make sense
TV,
that they're on Paramount.
Right. Pluto TV, I think, is the, like some kind of free subsidiary of Paramount Plus, is that right? Like, I think it's part of that, but it's supposedly free, and I don't know exactly how it works. It's supposedly its own channel, but I don't know how that shows up on whatever thing. I'm sure it's going to be as fantastic as Tubi TV was. So
sounds awesome.
It would be nice though if we could actually have all the Transformers content like actually streaming on a service. Like, it would have been nice if they could have done like YouTube or something. It seems like they've put up a lot of stuff there, but I guess that's not in the cards.
I mean, it is strange that it's not just available all the time. It's 30 up to 35 years old at this point. Like, it's just sitting there gathering dust. Just put it somewhere.
Well, I think that a lot of these streaming services are trying to build up content. So, you know, when you're going against HBO or you're going against Disney Plus or whatever it is, you know, Disney Plus has all the Fox stuff and has all the, you know, whatever. So you can go watch The Simpsons and all that they probably want to have something so that way you actually buy Paramount Plus instead of taking it from your friend. So.
Well, enough corporate lollygagging and making fun of the way the world works. These toys that are coming out of Walmart look fabulous. These look like the best. Like, these are the one. Everyone's going to want these. Everyone. Doesn't matter if you cared about Cybertron back in the day or whatever. Like, they're hitting all the buttons and everything looks great. And, you know, some of these are new molds, which is surprising. But I mean, we've had exclusive molds before.
Done this. I feel like that Walmart last year with the Netflix ones got some exclusive molds as well. Like, that's where they had mentioned the Soundwave that's coming out in whatever it is, like Legacy Wave 2, that they use the mainline one instead of the one that turns into the boombox, because they said that Walmart still had the rights to it.
Yep.
Yeah, even some nice remolding, it looks like, on the head of Road Hauler. We get a different head now than we've gotten from the previous Infernos or Grapples or Artfire.
Yeah. Well, and they also are doing these really cool boxes. I know, Phil, we're kind of talking about Transformers packaging, in the show chat, yesterday, and like it's pretty amazing that, they're doing kind of almost G1 packaging, I guess. I mean, in the in the new variant or whatever, and they're packaging them in vehicle mode, and they have a box flap and all these things. So pretty exciting for the old G1 fans.
Yeah, I mean, it'll go into the recycling bin very quickly for me, but they look cool. I'm sure they'll be eye catching on the shelf. So I'm excited for that. I'm curious if the decision to do vehicle mode is because the theme of these is like speed and a race, because we all know how fast trains are. Or is this the response to the theft that's been happening of parts with the packaging them in robot mode with no plastic? So that is something that I don't know is what's the chicken and the egg on that one.
Well, I feel like for me that if I were to not open my figures and just have them, in box, like I would want the box to be kind of like this. Like I prefer these types of boxes compared to the bubbles, or I guess the new packaging they have where they cover up the majority of the figure, is not as eye catching as what these are.
Yeah, no. Again, these are really eye catching with that bright blue, that cobalt blue. That kind of is the main color. It looks like that's a nice pop. Walmart, we've talked about, tends to want things that are blue. So, maybe that has something to do with the packaging coloration, but it looks fun.
I could do without the box flap. Like no one really likes box flaps. They always crease, get bent, hard to ship without fucking them up. It's just like annoying. I've hated them. They've been the bane of my Transformers existence for years. But whatever. I mean, I think they look cool. They're gonna be hot sellers. Like, it's gonna be worse than Netflix stuff. You better get your ass to Walmart when that stuff starts showing up. You're gonna have a hard time. Because everyone wants that override. I mean, it looks awesome.
Yeah, the override does look really cool.
If you care about that, or Nitro Convoy, I mean, I never liked the design much, but it looks really good as a modern toy now. The Scourge is gonna be you gotta get that. It's better than the regular leader. And there's something about Hauler that just looks way more interesting to me than Grapple. And he's cool because he's an Autobot Constructicon. I mean, I don't know if that's whether there's a canonical story to this stuff to go along with it, remains to be seen. I know he's in the comic now, but that's just one of those cool throwback things for like longtime collectors. He's an animation era sort of guy that has gotten a life of its own. It's just great to see it, and it looks exactly like what you thought it would look like, but it's still great. It's cool,
right?
So
just the
really,
fact
it's
that we're
just
getting
what Cosmos is. What is Cosmos going to be? That is exciting.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's crazy too. The Cosmos is coming in like an exclusive set. I don't know. That's one thing that would irk me if I was a fan overseas somewhere. That like it's just infinitely harder to get those figures. If you're in Europe or Japan than it is over here.
It's harder, but none of the stuff is unavailable. I mean, maybe like the Red series is completely unavailable over there, but I mean, even then, it gets released in Asia.
Yeah,
but like it'll probably be an EX. Like all the exclusives in America were in Japan exactly as they.
Oh, were they?
As they exist? Yeah, like they're just in weird boxes, and some of them are put in Generation Select or whatever. They have like a weird phonetic difference between Generation Selects. I was scouring Mandarake the other day, and I was like, "What is this box?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, this is how they package Generation Selects. They have a completely different, like like our black sleeve. Right. They have like a much nicer and cooler sleeve that they put over like the cardboard box that we get. That's boring. Uh-huh. So all that stuff gets released, like the Coneheads, the Paradron Medics. So I would assume some of this stuff will make it over there, but you never know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's obviously for us, like, I feel like there's been such a shift over the last however many years where there used to be things that would get released, a fair amount of things would get released in Japan or just other places that we'd have a hard time getting. And I feel like now, like, there's just nothing that we can't get, because even the Japanese exclusives go up on Hasbro Pulse.
Yeah, we have it. I mean, we have it the best for sure.
This is payback for us not being able to get like the later lines of Transformers that were all European exclusives. So, have fun with your second wave of Action Masters while we get these new toys.
I mean, I feel like part of the brand unity, if you want, is that even what they're doing still? I mean, it was done with the intention of making that not a problem.
Right.
Like it had been for the first 25 years of the brand. So I think it and it's great for me because it means I don't have to buy like doubles of everything like I used to. And most like before the third party era kind of took over, a lot of people were importing and buying the US stuff because they were so different. They were completely different toys. It was worth doing. Now it's not. It's just silly.
Right.
So
well, it kind of comes back to the idea of like, do you remember like, you'd have someone that would find some, old Transformer toy and it's printed in, or a Beast Wars toy printed in French, and like, oh, check out this crazy, misprint or variant. Oh, it's worth so much money. Like, no, not really. And so now all the packaging has all the language on it. That's why all the languages on it. That's why we don't get the character bios anymore, because they don't want to have to put all of that in 5 different languages on the packages. So it's all just streamlined. So the one package and the singular toy can go, to all the different continents.
I agree with you, but I would at least bring up one point, is that the box variants are what people like that care about, and they still exist in Japan. So, I mean, the fact that the toys are exactly the same, though, that cuts off, it cuts the whole importing market, right off at the knees. But there's still a few, for Starscreams, I always have to get the Japanese release. It's kind of hard now to make sure that you're getting the Japanese one. And now the only thing that's different is the box. What's interesting, though, is the Studio Series stuff is actually printed, and they have sometimes different photos and stuff on the box. So there are still some differences out there, but they're only for psychotic uber geeks that know exactly what they're not they know exactly what they're doing or what they want something for. They're not like, oh, I didn't know this was the same toy. Right. But I mean, it is so weird, how different it is from back in the 80s where, in France, they could release Optimus Prime with red feet and, no one got in trouble. Or no one cared at the time. But now that's, a really sought-after thing. Those days are gone. But I guess to top off that topic, it's that I think some of these, if not all of them, will be available in Japan. It just depends if Takara wants to release them. And things like things like Black Convoy. It's called Black Convoy. I mean, it's the Japanese character, so I would assume they're going to release that and probably Hauler. The interesting thing will be if they release Override, will they change the name, or will it still be Override? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, usually they always love black repaints over in Japan, so I'm assuming the Black Convoy is going to definitely get released. So, but I don't know. I'm curious if we're actually going to get the Black Convoy like in the actual Scourge colors, or what they're gonna do about that. Like, 'cause I would think that would be yet another easy repaint for them to do, though. You don't think so?
No, this is what the toy is. This is it. This is the Legacy Black Convoy. It's not.
You say that, but Galvatron's been repainted like 5 times already. So I could see a world where they do a slight deco variation to make certain people happy.
Well, yeah, those differences are quite drastic, though, compared to what you're saying. I mean, barring the Legacy versus Kingdom release.
Right.
Okay. But,
the one without the space mud.
Yeah, that's still even less drastic than what you're saying. I just think that they're going for something new, and they didn't want it to look exactly like the other one. And plus, I think they made the right choice here, because everyone forgets that Laser Prime was one of the first like faux part toys,
Right.
And for some reason his damn chest was gray and not pink windows, because those are windows. Those are supposed to be the windows of the truck, even though they're not. And so that's what they did this time, is to kind of like, well, put the pink in there.
Right. No, I mean, I think it's cool, and I do feel like with this new team, it seems like they are straying away from 100% accuracy. Like, it seemed like for a little while they were trying to make the figures like pretty accurate, but now they're, I don't know. I mean, it kind of seems like it's, they'll release one that's, they're doing what they want to do. Then they release another one that is more animation accurate. And then they release another one that's more toy accurate. And then that way that we all triple dip.
Maybe.
Or not all of
us. I mean, it's possible. It's not impossible.
Yeah, Lucas, I'm in the same camp as you. I think a character, especially as popular as Scourge, you're going to get a black, Laser Optimus with minimal pink, a lot more teal and gray accents, and it'll be labeled as Scourge versus Black Convoy, and maybe it'll be a year from now that we get it, but I would be surprised if we did not get that.
Well, we can throw a gentleman's bet out there. I don't think that'll happen, but if it does happen, that's the way. That's what they should do. Is they're Scourge and this is Black Convoy, and they're different because they're not the same, and it's a huge conundrum. This all would have been fixed if the geniuses that were porting our car robots over didn't just randomly pick a name out of a hat and decide to call this guy Scourge. Like, why did that happen? I mean, you can't have if you have a character collection for Scourge, like, you're stuck putting this guy with your sweeps. It's so stupid. I hate it. It's one of those things that, like, if I could go back and change one thing in Transformers, that's like in the top 3 would have been that. Don't call this guy Scourge. And I'm looking at the photos of him, and I didn't realize you could put the Matrix on the sword here. Ooh.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either until that came out.
That's kind of cool. I think it looks great. I like that they did something new. I mean, I would have been cool with it as the the RID color scheme too. But like, I prefer something. I'm sick of stuff I already have. Like, I already got that.
Right.
Just give me something new.
Right. Well, and I think too, there's other options. Like, again, if you want something that's more accurate, go with that. I don't necessarily know that we've ever thought that the Generations line is where you're going to get your really accurate figures. So
if you want the one that looks like the original toy, get the original toy. It's not like it's expensive.
That's true too.
So like, stop.
Well, I don't
crying.
know. I should say that, like, you say it's not expensive, but I actually haven't price checked it in a while. Is it?
Well, I have been trying to sell one been hauling it around for like 15 years. So, and it's sealed. So I'll just tell you, it's not very expensive.
You can't get Paul prices on these things.
Apparently not. But you know, the fact that this is coming out now, that might change the game though. That might flip the script, and the fact that it is different, you might see that toy become, hitting where it ought to be, if you ask me. For like the prestige that it has and the moment in time it was and how good it is, and that toy should be upwards of like $200, but it's not.
Yeah, so Ruin in the chat was saying that they think there should be a Transformers What If series that would be a really cool video series, and that he'd love to see something like an Optimus Prime turned into Galvatron with colors. I kind of feel like that's a little bit with what they did with Shattered Glass, though. Right? Yeah. I mean, kind of. I mean, it's still not exactly the same, but I do think that is a cool idea, and it would be a fun, Netflix series or something like that. Or maybe they start doing some of this stuff on Pluto TV or whatever it is.
Maybe if you live on Pluto. I mean, there is sort of precedent to that. I'm not sure if the commenter knows this, but there is something called Galva-Lio Convoy, and it's like one of the coolest lucky draw toys that ever existed, and it's Lio Convoy in Galvatron colors. It's not just a chrome or clear thing, and so like there is a little bit of precedence there, and I've always thought it's so weird with Shattered Glass Optimus. Like, you already had an evil Optimus right here, and then Fun Pub's like, well, we gotta make our own. What do we do? Let's make him purple, I guess. Oh. It's so funny. Like, there's the whole rainbow of Optimus is out there if you know where to look.
Right.
Like, I literally think every color has been hit if you count Toxitron.
Yeah.
Yeah, you throw the Bapes in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Bapes too, and the LeBron primes.
Yeah, and what are the duck? What are the something duck? The shoe ones, the other shoe crossover MP10s.
Oh God, I wish some of those came out. Like, actually, you know what this looks like is the elephant MP10 that never came out, which is like a white and black and teal blue color scheme. It's kind of a deep cut. I think COVID killed all those releases because like duck camo came out right during COVID and they had to like clearance it out, so they probably didn't do the other 5 that they had in the wings. But I want to look that up. It had a little more white on it.
Yeah.
So
because that was such a cool looking toy. Dang.
For these Walmart figures though, so we know what the leader is going to be. Is going to be that the Black Convoy. We know the Voyagers, right? It's going to be Hauler and Override.
Yep.
Do we know what the deluxes are going to be? So we mentioned. Do you know these, Paul?
I do know what they are. Are you asking me to spill the beans?
Yeah.
Well, one of these was revealed. So let's start with that one. Phil, you saw this the other day, right? One of the the deluxe that were leaked. It was Clampdown.
Oh yeah. Clampdown.
Yes, Clampdown. I forgot about that.
So that got kind of just like right. I mean, all the dominoes are falling like as we speak. Like by the time we're done with this podcast, we'll probably know what Cosmos looks like. But we saw like Black Convoy and Override and Clampdown all at the same time. So these are all getting produced right now, and they're sneaking off, and people are getting a hold of them, taking photos. And Clampdown is another Diaclone toy, and it kind of fits. It's the Earth mode. It's the Earth mode Countach, and this is actually like Red Alert came from this toy. Originally, this is the police version of the Lamborghini that wasn't Sunstreaker, and most people know this. I think there's a Clampdown has come out way more frequently than I'm sorry, Deep Cover has come out way more frequently in recent time than Clampdown, and I think it's mostly because Clampdown looks so close to Red Alert that it's just kind of like, why would we do that? But they made some interesting choices here, and they made them way more white than maybe Red Alert looks. So it does look distinct, and it has that nice kind of police badge on it for with the Autobots in it, Autobot logo. I just think it looks better than I expected. I thought it was gonna be boring, and I'm like, oh, this is actually really cool. And now this is the Autobot Seeker, so people that are collecting that mold for whatever reason got to get this. And this is short packed in the case. I don't know why they did that, but something's got to be. So,
have they ever done a team up with? I mean, probably not because it's Japanese and U.S. But I would like to see a team up of Ghost Shooter and Siren with Red Alert and Clampdown. I don't know. Just the police sports car and the fire truck in the fire department sports car. The two versions of that in some.
They kind of did that. Amazon years ago had like a couple, like, didn't they do like a Protectobot set or something where they did repaints of?
Yeah, they did. You're right. They did something like that. I guess I'm more talking about in a fiction kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool to like the precinct, the Autobot precinct or something.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that? Yeah. Brooklyn 905 or some show like
Brooklyn 99.
Brooklyn 57. Yep. But the Autobot version.
You do it like the NBC Chicago shows, like Cybertron Fire, Cybertron PD, Cybertron, ER.
I mean, there's enough characters now. I think you can fill out the roster. That would be. I think it'd be a good Blue Lives Matter version of Transformers. For some of the fringes, that would be cool.
Nightbeat is the scram you gumshoe. This is real police work. Get out of here.
All these newfangled kids with their computers. I have a magnifying glass. That's how I find clues.
Well, technically, Nightbeat hasn't been released recently, right? So it's been the Thrilling 30. I think is the last one that we got, like of an official one. So I know there's a third-party one coming out.
And that one was funny. You just reminded me of something because, originally that was gonna be the Jazz mold, I think, and there was mock-ups of it looking like that, and then they're like, surprise, and they made it the Bumblebee toy, which I think was the better choice, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
But that I guess that's your Nightbeat still. Who knows? Go ahead.
I got the upgrade kit to make them the more IDW looking Nightbeat, which helps, but it's the X-Transbot Nightbeat looks flipping insane. But it would be cool to get a new Nightbeat, and there's teases of it with the idea that we might get a Minerva from Elita 1, which means we'd probably get a Nightbeat from Elita 1.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, that you wanted the Homer Nightbeat.
Yeah. Someone posted concept drawings of the new Legacy Elita 1 online this past weekend. And while the car mode still does look very Homer-esque, the front, the front with the front headlights does look a lot more like a Porsche. And so I think does lend itself a lot more to the idea that will eventually be retooled to a Minerva Nightbeat toy.
Yeah, I'm sure that they're going to make it into those toys. It just looks too close to those not to.
Yeah. Especially when you compare the Wreckers artwork to the Elita 1 toy. It's so spot on.
All right, so Paul, what are the other deluxe figures in the wave?
Well, the other figure that's short packed, bless his heart, is our good friend Cosmos, which is clearly a completely new mold. It has to be. What could that be?
Cosmos short pack? That's nuts.
I don't know, man. I don't know what they are thinking when they're making this, but that one is going to be worth more than the Bumblebee by the time it's over. If it's really a new mold and it's it's really exclusive, because there's nothing. What else is Cosmos other than gold Cosmos or something or rusty Cosmos? I mean, they could. Who knows what they could do? But if these new mold toys in this line go the way of what happened with the Earthrise Netflix toys, like we're in for some trouble. It's gonna be bad. But this, I don't know what this looks like, but I've just been waiting every day for this to leak because I just want to see what it is. Like a deluxe Cosmos, it's got to be like, I don't know, something interesting. So look out for that. That one's coming. Unless you guys have any comments on what you think it might be.
I mean, I think that it's probably gonna look more G1 accurate. Like I'm guessing that it's, you know, they're probably gonna take you know, a line from, like, there's been a multiple third party Cosmos out there, so I figure they're probably gonna take one of those and dumb down the engineering, kind of like they've done on a lot of the figures that have been released recently.
Yeah, because he was originally a mini bot. You know, he's in the mini bot assortment in G1, and they've been deluxifying these mini bots.
Right.
I mean, his alt mode is like so silly and outdated, though. Like, I kind of would like to see it more modernized. I mean, what's a modern UFO? A UAP now, you know, and it looks like a fuzzy ball. Like that wouldn't be very good. Like maybe he's a triangle, you know, like those black triangle. I don't know if you're into this stuff, but that's kind of like a common. He could be like a stealth jet or something.
I just feel like they're gonna make him like this specific one G1. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, that seems like the right play because we've never gotten like an amazing Cosmos. We've had the little tiny dinky ones that have been okay.
31 wasn't horrible.
Yeah, he's by far the best.
And he was small, right? He was like a basic.
He was a legend.
Yeah, but
legend.
Yeah, again, he was coming up from the mini bot size, so it made sense.
Right.
I mean, it's not like the original G1 toy is spectacular.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think those two are the most spectacular. Thus, I mean, I haven't seen them all, so I don't know. But those sound like the most spectacular, and they're going to be the hardest to get. So, if you had fun finding Scrap Face, and you're going to be back in that camp again, because the next three are 2 per case, and one is Blur. Blur.
That's weird. Like, what are they going to do with Blur?
Make him slightly more screen accurate like they did with Cup.
I
think this is Armada Blur in some way.
Okay.
It's a guess. I mean, I don't know, but that's my thought. Like, it might just be a color scheme thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if they did what they did to Override and they do it to that toy, like, that could be really good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I always thought that it had an interesting alt mode for, you know, the Armada era.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like the Studio Series Blur just didn't hit the mark. So if they actually like retooled that a little bit, I think it could be really good.
Especially the head.
Yeah.
They just, as far as I know, they haven't taken a Studio Series toy and just like planted it in Generations proper. But I mean, this is also a subline that is exclusive to a store, so it's like, you know, anything could happen. It could just be, most likely, it's something to do with the Studio Series Blur, I guess.
Yeah, because this to me would be similar to them taking Studio Series Jazz and redoing it to Jackpot, or Studio Series Blur and redoing it to Shattered Glass Blur.
Yeah, it would be. I feel like there is a slight distinction because one of those is kind of a Hasbro exclusive line. You know, the Shattered Glass stuff is like just like sort of like anything has been going on in there. Who knows? And it is definitely possible. You know, it seems like the most boring thing that could happen. So I'm just trying to stir the pot a little bit. It'd be cooler if it was something.
Yeah, Armada
something
Blur
different.
is one of those characters that kind of cool design. I mean, if he wasn't named Blur and we had a better toy of him, I think I'd think more fondly of that character / toy.
Yep, they shouldn't be just throwing those names around, you know? Jeez.
Yep.
I mean, it sort of makes sense. When I look at that character, I was like, okay, I could see that as a new Blur, but whatever.
Catherine brings up a good point that Blur is the mascot for Velocitron. So, yeah, it'd be hard to not have him in the line with, you know, Velocitron, Speedia, all that type of thing.
I suppose, at least in Cyberverse, he was for sure. But like in the actual Cybertron show, there was no Blur, right? So Catherine, what are you talking about? I don't know. Like, I know he's fast. Maybe it's something in the comics. I'm not 100%, but that does make a lot of sense. I mean, yeah, he's when you look at when they said it, this is a Velocitron set, and here's just a bunch of names. You know, like when you see Blur, you're like, oh, duh, yeah, Blur. You know, like you alluded to earlier, Phil, Road Hauler is not what you think of when you think of Speed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, most of these sets, it seems like they just randomly pick figures, not that, you know, that they necessarily go with the concept, but Blur definitely does, though.
Because if you're doing the Cannonball Run thing where you're doing the idea of a race, you know, the Cannonball Run thing, they did the ambulance so they could go through stoplights and avoid traffic. And that's how they were going to win the Cannonball Run. So in that case, you would want the fire truck version of that mold and not a construction vehicle. Construction vehicle can't just plow through traffic.
Well, but if you break down, you know, it could be good to have the crane truck.
Yeah. So. I mean, I don't think Cannonball Run logic really applies to anything in this day and age, but you know.
No. Not at all.
It would be really cool if they could just like if they like the What If show or whatever, like they just had like a universe canon specific show where they could just have fun Transformer stories. They could just do a one-off episode that's like this race, you know, and this is the whole set that's featured in that show. That would be so great. So fun.
That's the problem, I think, Paul, that you've really talked about a lot, is that so many other toy lines that we enjoy are media first and toy second.
Yeah.
So you get like these cool stories in this cool media that then will generate cool toys. Meanwhile, with Transformers, we're getting cool toys that we kind of want to see some media around. Like, oh, you get a description on the Amazon Prime listing.
Yeah. You get some hastily written, like, you know, intern babble.
Yeah.
I think, you know, Transformers is always going to suffer from this because the lead time on the toys is just so out of sync with how long it takes to write a story.
Right.
And then get it produced.
Like, I mean, you could potentially line it up a little bit with the comics. They tried to do that with Shattered Glass, in the toys that got released there, but it's still really hard.
It's monumental effort, and I don't think you can like keep it up, you know, over time. Right. Unless you release the comic like intermittently, you know, it's like there's deadlines, and like if you tell IDW like, well, you can't release that story that you have printed and ready to go because the toy's not ready, they're gonna be like, squeeze me. Like we just paid to make this stuff and it's sitting here in our dock. It's going out. Like, see ya. So that's unfortunate. I'm gonna move on to the next one. This one I'm a little less familiar with. It's Road Rocket, which I think is one of those late G1, G2 figures.
G2, isn't it?
That's what it looks like. Yeah, it's a Generation 2 toy. Yep. And then it was released in Robot Masters as well, which is a Japanese-only thing. But he's a motorcycle, so that one's pretty easy to figure out what that one's going to be from.
It's an RC remold, I'm assuming.
That's my assumption too. Yeah, haven't seen it. Like, don't know.
Right. But one can assume, like, based on the original G2 toy. So I think that's really cool, though, that you know, they're re-releasing some of these G2 toys. That some of these are coming out. You know, I do feel like it's a little bit of a deep cut, like, that I wouldn't have expected to get, you know, some of these, especially like those figures. It's not like people were necessarily clamoring for, you know, those guys. So it's kind of cool to, you know, to get some of these.
Like the fact that you just said the word deep cut, Lucas, what this totally reminds me of is when, you know, bands go and become this, like, you know, all they're doing is greatest hits albums one after another. It's just like, you know, every 10 years they release a new version of the greatest hits. And like what they have to throw on there are these unreleased studio recordings that no one's ever heard before. And that sort of stuff to get the old timers to buy something they've already purchased a dozen times over.
And there's usually a reason why that hasn't been released in 35 years, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It's not like it was a gem.
You guys were super high and didn't know where you were at.
Yeah, like this one doesn't do much for me. Like I wouldn't even call it a deep cut. I'd just call it like a paper cut because like sure it's not like it's not like Road Hauler, like that to me that's a deep cut. Pretty much. You know, it's like everyone knew it was coming because the toy's there and there's only so many like repaint opportunities, but like we've never gotten an MP hauler, not even that. So I think they're on different levels, but yeah, they're both like obscure for sure. I'm sure someone out there is excited for Road Rocket. If you're there, let us know.
I mean, the original toy is so sort of just bad. It's one of those things that it's an interesting character / toy to see redone because the first one is so atrocious. It looks much more like a GoBot than it does like a knockoff GoBot than it does a Transformer.
Yeah, maybe they could release it as Scooter. GoBots Universe Scooter.
I mean, the original G2 toy, it wasn't that far off. But yeah, that would be... I mean, because you think about it, there's been... Cosmos got repainted to GoBot Pathfinder, so we've got two potential GoBots repaints coming. That we could do.
Like Amazon, pay attention.
Yeah.
Release the GoBots cut next year.
We're doing your job for you, Bezos.
I mean, like Road Rocket, he makes sense. He's a motorcycle. If they're all cars, that's probably a little boring. So, like, I'll hand it to him. I honestly would have preferred a Energon RC, like straight repaint of like the Prime one, and it would have kind of fit the era that some of this stuff is from. That like 2000 to 2004. But like that's not the theme. The theme is racy.
I mean, we have another G2 coming out in the Amazon set too, so.
Yeah, they're sort of spraying all fields at this point in time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, I know everyone wants 2 Road Rockets per case versus Cosmos, so I mean, it's fine.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And there's one left, and this is Burnout. And this any littering and Burnout.
Who is that from?
Yeah, I know. No one knows. He's again obscure, but he is a well known in some circles as another Diaclone version of Skids, the black one.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Burnout, we haven't got an MP of that yet. We've gotten almost all the other colorways of the Diaclone toy as an MP, but not this one. So that's why it's kind of like, who is that? Like if the MP had been released, like MP 207 was Burnout, everyone's like, oh yeah, Burnout. Oh yeah, that's who he is. But it's supposed to be black one.
I was gonna say I'm kind of surprised they didn't do Crosscut. I feel like that's been the automatic repaint. So.
I mean, who knows? That stuff's probably still coming at some point, but
right.
I think this is cool because maybe it's a Decepticon. That's what I mean. There doesn't seem like there's a lot of Decepticons in here. It's just the 2 black ones might be Decepticons. Again, since this character hasn't come out, it's like he doesn't really have a ton of precedent. I think maybe it was a BotCon toy only, and we don't believe them.
Yeah, it might be an homage to the fact that the venue that BotCon toy came out with just burnt down. So
black smoke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure.
So for those of you who aren't in Chicagoland, if you were at 2015 BotCon, you will never be back at that venue. I mean, it's been closed for a couple years already, but it just it burned for like 5 hours 2 weeks ago.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. I need now that I'm thinking about it, I want to go look up to see if they found the cause of the fire because it's always like, all right, abandoned building. Why did this thing just suddenly catch fire?
Mm-hmm. According to the wiki, I did not know this. This is there was a BotCon toy, and it was from the Axiom Nexus stupid set. That really, that's where I stopped paying attention. But it's the black Skids, and it's a female, even though it has a male face. So, I would like to see this change. Like, be like, oh, in Legacy it was a Decepticon and it was awesome. But like, there's not a lot of precedent. So we'll see what it is. So after this, basically all from all the things we've seen get leaked, and we haven't talked about the Target stuff, have we? like in the previous
No.
episode? Because that's kind of new. That's unexpected.
The buzzworthy 4-pack?
Which one?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we have.
Well,
No.
the point I was going to make is all the Wave 1 Legacy toys have now been repainted. Except for Dragstrip, which makes sense because he's a limb.
Mm-hmm.
So that is your Speedia Fasty Racy 500,000 collection. I think it sounds awesome. I think Walmart has won the exclusive battle of 2022.
Certainly beating out Amazon.
Well, they don't have a hammer though.
Yeah.
There you go. Made out of cardboard.
Oh, you think they can spring for cardboard?
They can't spring for plastic anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is construction paper at best.
Right. So, but yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, I think the Walmart has probably had the best exclusives. I don't know, a lot of them they've done a pretty good job with a lot of the exclusives. Overall, like I think Target's had some pretty good ones too.
Target had the Rainmakers. They had quite a few of the Seekers. So Target's had some great ones. Walmart feels like every other year they get cool ones. The Soundwave, obviously the Netflix Soundwave was great. The Netflix Bumblebee was great, but I don't, and I might be wrong, but I don't remember what the Walmart exclusives were from last year. What did they have for an exclusive last year that was anything spectacular?
Well, I think it's so Walmart has so many exclusives that it's like it kind of gets. It's like they went quantity over quality necessarily, and I'm not saying they were bad, but like Walmart has more exclusive toys than any like the other two combined. If you really look at it, like the Red series, the vintage reissues, and then like mainline specific ones, which I think that's kind of what we're keying in on here, the mainline.
Well, and they had
ones.
those Headmasters too, where they took the Generation toys and put those in boxes as well. So
they have tons of stuff. They got. Well, this is not. I think they got this too. Whoa, the Jada 15 pack. But point being, I think Walmart just finally had the time, or just got lucky, or something. Like I don't know if Hasbro says, hey, you can have the Speedia set, the Wrecker set, or you can't have Buzzworthy because Hasbro or Target has that on lockdown. But they get to pick between the two, and the guy that was making the choice swiped right and chose the right set of toys, because these are far more exciting to me than the Wrecker stuff, and it seems like it should be the opposite. As a crusty. But that being said, none of it's bad. This is great that we have all this stuff. It's crazy awesome. Like this is it's too much product almost, if there is such a thing.
Yeah, when you think about it, since the dissolution of Fun Pub and Toys R Us, the exclusive toy world has been pretty freaking sweet. And the fact that they're all fairly easy to come by, I'm not saying you don't have to do some hunting, but they've been fairly easy to come by either online or in the stores, and they've been pretty darn good.
It's gotten better.
I definitely feel like Transformers are easier to get. Like at least in the moment, like if you're really looking, like you normally can get them. I know some of the other lines, like I think Marvel Legends, there's probably been issues at least initially trying to get a hold of some of those, but I don't know. I've never had that much trouble like trying to find them. Maybe I'm just lucky the area of the country I'm in. I know Peter and some other people have said that like East Coast that they've had a harder time trying to find them, but
I feel like I had a harder time with Walmart exclusives pre-COVID. But since all the COVID sort of stuff has been somewhat worked out, and the fact that they've gotten better about doing these website launches, I've had pretty darn good success at getting my hands on this stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot easier than it used to be.
Yeah.
It was bad for a while, and COVID delayed any improvement for a good long time, but I think we're in a pretty good spot now.
Yeah. These sort of like web-based CollectorCon drops have been, I think, a good way for these exclusive things to come out, and you sort of know this is when it's going to come out. They've done a good job of trying to minimize the bots, and yeah, I mean, if you're, free for, you don't even have to be free right at that minute, but if you've got like in that morning, you can, sit down for 5 minutes in front of the computer, you should be able to get this stuff. If you're doing it by 2:00 in the afternoon, you might be SOL. But you don't even have to. It's not like back in the day with the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, where it's like if you weren't on the website that very minute, you were, up a creek without a paddle.
The difference too is that like normally Walmart and Target, like in especially Target, like a lot of times they restock their exclusives too. So like you can find, like, even if like they sold out online, like you probably can find them in the store, and you may not be able to get that first shipment, but a lot of times, like, I don't know, whatever, a month or two later, they show up. Like, I know that like all the Seekers showed up like that. I think some of the Coneheads it was kind of tricky getting, but
I feel like that was more of a COVID thing, but or I feel like the opposite's also been true. Like either way, I think you've been easy to get it, but T-Rex and Road Rage, I've never seen those in stores, but they're like clearanced out online.
I saw T-Rex all over the MF place, but I never saw Road Rage once, which is so funny because it's like they keep discounting it online, and I'm like, well, let people buy it. Like maybe
that's such a weird thing. I don't know if like what happened with that, because I agree, I never saw that in the store, and then it's just sat online. You can just get it at any time. I don't know if it's still a red card exclusive or if you can get it.
Is Dracula sold out online, or is that guy still plentiful?
Oh, I don't know.
No idea, but I mean that was out for like 2 days in the store, and that was it. Like that was a one and done.
Like no one really wants it, so even if you got it, you're like, yeah, this is hard to find now.
Stuff like that comes around. It just people gotta come across it at a convention, or like, see some influence. They call them influencers for a reason, because they influence them to buy stuff. It's great. But yeah, Target has definitely re-released lots of stuff. It takes them sometimes a year, but some of Target's exclusives go to regular retail too, or well, not regular, but like wholesale retail. Like all these G.I. Joe classified Cobra Island things are now, up for order. The Seekers were up for order. The both sets, the Rainmakers and Skywarp and Thunderballs, Thunderlips. So
I haven't seen it with the Walgreens Transformers, but I've seen it with the Walgreens Marvel Legends. I've started to show up on Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store.
Yeah.
There you go. And that's why, because they do another run, and then basically the retailer's like, you can, we don't want it, and like we don't want to pay for it, like, so they sell it to someone else.
I don't know. I personally like having red card exclusives because I have a red card, and so then it can easily get it then, whereas like some of these other ones I might actually have to work for it, like trying to find it in store, whereas if they limit it to red card, then I just, it's just going to be there for me.
Yep.
So, but do we know Minerva has not actually been announced anywhere, right? Like we're just speculating that it's going to be an elite.
No, we're not. Right? We are far more than speculating. There is 99% sure. Yes, I mean there's not like a public listing, but like it's in the store computers as a thing.
That's the thing that's always hard to do. Like there's so many of these leaks that happen these days that I don't even know what's. Like I forget, like what's a store listing, what's a whatever, like what fell off of a truck somewhere in Vietnam. But
well, speaking of that, like the other morning, the Ransack photos of this Ransack came all over the place, and Ransack being a kickback redeco into the deluxe Insecticon, which seemed very plausible because someone it took like many months after the toy was released, but someone realized you can put those swords under Kickback's stomach as in a bug, and it looks like, a thorax. And then it looks exactly like Ransack. I was like, oh man, that'd make a really good looking Ransack. And now here it is. And it's funny with Target because that stuff is kind of, again, the names of what's in the sets are obscured because they sell them in like 4-packs. So it's called like the Transformers 4-pack. And you're like, well, what the hell is that? Like we had no idea what Worlds Collide was. And that's why it was such a kind of a bombshell when it finally got revealed.
At a Walmart.
Yeah, but I mean, no one knew it was Nemesis Primal. Like no one had even those two words had never been put together until that. Like that was crazy.
Right.
But now I think we're kind of putting the pieces together.
So that photo leak the other day of the lineup of that Buzzworthy Bumblebee 4-pack, is that legit? Is that a Photoshop thing, or are we getting a new gold bug out of that Volkswagen Beetle mold? And the head from Shattered Glass Bumblebee and the War Rooter, the purple War Rooter and the Scorponok repaint in that set? Or is that just someone messing around with Photoshop and they tricked a few of us?
That's someone it's a digibash essentially.
Okay.
But that is the kind of pervasive thought is that's what this is going to be. Because like Target has kept the buzz, unlike Amazon and Walmart. Target has been like, "Hey, this Buzzworthy Bumble thing works, so let's just keep it rolling. Like keep the presses going." So they're not deviating 100%. So it's like at least from a packaging perspective and like a branding thing. So it seems very plausible that they will kind of just like take the same formula and do it again. But no one has seen a gold bug. There's no actual, indication of what that's going to be. But it's Ransack, Parasite, which is now the name of the black and purple dude, and then the toy color Scorponok, which is that just Scorponok or is that something else? I don't know. I guess they just call Black Arachnia, so it'll probably just be Scorponok. And then whoever has inside info says, yeah, it's going to be Gold Bug. But that's a loaded statement. Like, what does that mean? What does a gold bug mean?
Right. That could be anything too.
Yeah.
They rename Ransack Gold Bug. Like, well, he's a bug and he's yellow. It works.
I mean, let's do some predictions here. I'm going to go with the top. The best thing it could be is the Netflix Bumblebee Gold with with the shattered glass head. That's the absolute coolest thing it could be. It's not going to be that, is it?
Probably
no,
not.
the likelihood it'll be just a repaint of the Shattered Glass toy.
Yeah, probably.
Ilmatic Prime says, "What about the kids? Are these on-loan exclusives easy for kids to find?" Boy, I don't know. If I was a kid these days, man, like I would have such a I feel like that's hard for me to keep up with this stuff, and like if kids were actually trying to collect all of this, my God, like that would just be so hard.
I don't have anything nice to answer that question with, so I'm gonna default to Phil.
I don't know. The kids are probably online, right? I don't know. It bugged their dad to buy it for them if they really wanted it, I guess.
Yeah,
for the kids.
I mean, I don't know. When I was a kid, I didn't get every single toy I wanted because either I didn't find it or I didn't have enough money for it. My parents wouldn't get it for me for Christmas. So it's just like, yeah, what about the kids? It's just like there's plenty of stuff they can go and get. Do they need to get Fangry and Nemesis Primal and Black Arachnia from the Buzzworthy Bumblebee set and pay $80 for 4 toys? Probably not. Like, my son likes Transformers probably just as much as the next kid, if not more so, because he's my son. And he's like, oh yeah, those are cool. Like he's not like asking me to like bring him upstairs and play with him.
Right.
It's preposterous to assume that there is some 3, 4, or 5-year-old out there that's collecting at the rate that we are. I mean, it's absolutely insane to think like, oh, that's the way it should be. We need to make sure like processes are put in place for those 2 kids out in the whole America that have enough money to do that. Like anyone that's doing that, doesn't have a problem getting exclusives. Okay,
Right.
get out of here.
I can tell you that my kids aren't doing that. If they had that much money, they would be spending on video
Paying rent.
games.
They'd be paying you rent if that was the case.
I don't know about that, but
I mean, part of being a kid and not getting it, like you said, Phil, yeah, you're not kind of supposed to get everything. That's insane. You'll turn out to be a crazy person if that's the case. But the point of not getting all that's...
Maybe it'd be the opposite. It'd be like us where we couldn't get it all as kids and now we can as adults. And so,
Well, yeah, I feel like it's sort of not a lot, but like some people that stick with it, they're going to get to the point. That's why when you turn 20, it's like your nostalgia kicks in and you start getting all the stuff. How many times a day do you see some post on Facebook? I didn't have this when I was a kid, so I bought it now. A lot more expensive now, though. Whee! Here's a photo next to my grandma's cabinet. That's what you see. It's, that happens 35,000 times a day. So that's what that's the cycle sort of can potentially perpetuate that. It's called capitalism. It's not good.
Right.
But
I was at a toy shop on Friday and they had the Toy Biz Fell Beast with the Ring Wraith from the Toy Biz Lord of the Rings line. I'm like, oh, I never had that when that came out, and I was always eyeing it at Toys R Us. Never had enough money for it, and I looked at the price, and it was like, it was weird price too. It was $196, which just feels like an odd price for a toy. Why not just go up to, $1.99, whatever. But like the guy there, he's like, I'm like, I like it. I don't like it that much. He's like, yeah, if you don't have any other stuff, it's not going to fit well with your collection, and it's big, and I wouldn't even recommend you to buy it if it's, if you don't have a bunch of other Toy Biz stuff in that era. It's like, yeah, thank you. Like,
he was really selling you on it.
Yeah, no, it was like, but I'm like, it was kind of, well, I'm reading the Lord of the Rings books to my son. So like, that's kind of got like that itch, fired up in me again. And instead, like, he showed me he had a 2-pack of Bormer and a Urukai for $35. I'm like, yeah. Like that, figure out, like, drill some holes into Bormer so the arrows can be stuck in them.
Brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall that the kids can get some of these exclusives. The majority of them are in the stores for Walmart and Target, and I think Amazon, I don't know, I'm sure they could probably bug their parents or something if they had to.
I think Transformers, of like the toys that are out there, the things that are exclusive, the Transformer stuff is maybe the things that kids are less interested in. When you look at like sort of what's out there for kids to be interested in, like, I've got a friend who's got a son the same age as my son, and he's like, hey, anytime you see like one of these harder to find Hulk toys, can you grab it for me and ship it down to me in Texas? Because like my son loves the Hulk, the red Hulk, the red and green Hulk. Just grab me one, or like send me the link when it's available so I can buy it myself. Yeah. And so, like, I don't know if I've ever had a friend say that to me about Transformers. I occasionally hear that about, like, obviously the Avengers stuff, occasionally some of the Star Wars stuff, but even the Star Wars stuff that they're putting out exclusives, like, I don't know how much kids, like, need to fill out their clone army. So a lot of the exclusive stuff is designed for us, hardcore nerd fans.
Yeah, I think that, like, I don't know. I know, like, Peter's kid is heavily into Transformers too, but again, I think that if you wanted it enough, he could probably, talk to Peter about it. But, like, I don't know. That's the thing, I think, that where Transformers, I do feel like kind of diverged several years ago, where they used to try to kind of, like, combine the collectors and the kids were a bigger part of it, and now they have their own line. Like, they've got, Cyberverse is supposed to be the kids line, quote unquote, and then the then Generations is the collector's line. So like that's the that's kind of like what Hasbro is decided to do. But I do think a lot of these aren't, like you said, aimed at kids. Like the characters and things like that aren't like the ones where there's media for a lot of these figures too.
The other thing to think about, though, as a kid is, like, you might not care what the source is. And sometimes you saw toys as a kid that you never saw in a cartoon. It was just like, especially when you look at the later waves of Transformers toys, those had no real media to back them up. Sometimes they'd appear in the Transformers comic book, but typically the first time you're seeing it, was on the shelf or in the pamphlet that came with the toy, and it was just a cool toy that you just wanted. So I get like kids just want cool toys, but again, the idea is like you're not as a kid going to be able to get every single toy, and that's just deal with it.
Yeah.
You can get a knuckle sandwich though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think that so many things are going online these days too that, you know, if the kids want it and they can figure out a way to get some of these things too. So I don't know.
Just don't forget, do it for the kids, everybody.
There you go. So
I take the Michael Jordan response to that. Fuck them kids.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil.
So, has there been any other news this week? I feel like that all this comes so fast, and it's just like in my feed every day that, you know, sometimes I lose sight of certain things. So if there was something that was announced like last Tuesday, I may have forgotten already.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when a whole wave releases like piecemeal through the week. You just kind of get overwhelmed because it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we've gotten anything like big Hasbro presentations in a while. Like Hasbro just was kind of guns a-blazing for Star Wars last week. So, you know, I think it's just these kind of dribs and drabs, which is nice. And it's better than waiting like, you know, for the March issue of Toy Fair where they'd have the pictures from Toy Fair. You know, but yeah, I don't know.
I got one. There's one we forgot, and this was. It's easy to overlook this one amidst everything else. Core Class Legacy Shockwave. Also
there you go.
The back of the box was revealed, and I found this one to be quite interesting because it's sort of like they didn't do this with all the other toys, but they just decided Shockwave was going to get it. He seems like he's an amalgamation of many different Shockwaves, and then he's only a little guy, so it's like it's just kind of a waste. But he turns into a satellite. He looks a lot like the War for Cybertron alt mode. He looks like G1 Shockwave, almost like bordering closer to Combiner Wars Shockwave as a toy. My favorite part is that, you know, the satellite thing, you know, that references Energon or Superlink. Yeah, he's actually Shock Blast in that, but he has that like Shock Blast had these his hand looks like Shock Blast's hand, the one that was holding the weird like double gun thing, and that's what's holding this radar dish that people are colorfully referring to as the pizza. But all we've seen is the back of the box, so it's like there's not really much to go off of, except it's just, you know, it's not a straight up, you know, gun Shockwave, which kind of makes sense. They don't really do that anymore.
Right.
But it looks neat. Like I'll be getting this for sure.
Yeah, they haven't done a bad job on these core class figures. You know, I think for the price point, especially, you know, these days with inflation, it's not too horrible of a, you know, a lot of these have been pretty good.
Yeah. And I mean, the other one that's coming out, this leaked a long time ago, but the G2 Megatron will be coming out with this Shockwave.
Yeah.
And I think also a repack of our friend OP.
Yeah, Shockwave is a weird dude that just keeps getting these like core class redos, and it's like I got it when they made him transform into the blaster, and you could make Bruticus hold him and all that sort of thing. But I don't know. I mean, I guess he's a popular character, so he's going to get made in multiple size classes. Just never really thought he was that popular to get that much love, but what do I know?
Yeah, it is weird that he gets so many small, tiny releases.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
even going back to Transformers Prime.
Mm.
One thing I was gonna say is I'm kind of surprised that the core class has had so many Decepticons, because you think about it, like all the Seekers and Megatron, and of course now Shockwave, and then for the Autobots, Well, we've had Optimus Prime. Oh, and then Soundwave too. But for the
Yeah.
Autobots, I'm trying to think. We've had Optimus Prime, and then what other ones? Core
Spike.
class ones. Well, I mean, I don't know if that counts. I kind of think of like that they're trying to do legend scale, like smaller scale ones of some of the popular figures, and they haven't really done a lot of the Autobots. Which is kind of weird because you would think that these core class are kind of meant for kids. Like, I don't know, I kind of feel like the $10 Optimus Prime, right? That I can pick that, my kid wants an Optimus Prime and I'm like, okay, sure, here you go. Versus getting the $50 one, the leader scale one. So I don't know. Like, you'd think there'd be like another, Bumblebee or Grimlock or something like that on the shelf, but I haven't really seen it.
I mean, the alt modes for Decepticons are a little bit more interesting. I mean, tanks and jets are more interesting than sports cars. Dinosaurs are kind of trickier to do. So
Josh brings up Hot Rod. I forgot about that one, and that's on the shelf now.
Hot
so
Rod. Yeah, both he was Kingdom and Legacy. So
just keep pumping out Hot Rods and Optimus Primes.
Yeah, that is interesting. That those are the two that. Hot Rod is the other Autobot that kind of just continuously comes out in the corks. Remember, he was they did him in Combiner Wars as the repaint of was it Blackjack?
Yeah.
The chest for Motorman for Menasor.
I mean, it will be to be fair with these toys that when you're talking about like how they're redoing them again, like what is there, probably like 5-6 years in between each release, right? So it's not too out of the blue that they're like doing a new version.
But just in our old age, our perception of time is all warped from what it used to be. So like, I just did this guy.
Right.
7 years ago. My child wasn't born yet.
Lord.
Oh, man.
How do we do this show every week and there's always new leaks to talk for 2 hours about? It's just like, what is Hasbro? Stop.
We get like 1 or 2 episodes that's not about new leaks. And then it's like, oh, now we got to do 3 episodes in a row about these leaks.
Right. Well, I know, like we also had the Lego Optimus Prime. We did that show, and then you've done some of the other. Yeah, every week there's a new leak of something. So
just can't believe there's relevant stuff to talk about.
Right.
Oh. Again, is there any fiction coming out nowadays that's worth talking about? Like, are we going to do like new comic books only come out maybe how many books are they doing now? 3. So like we can't even do
Like they had that last bot standing that came out, but I think Scotty and the Sabertron guys did a pretty good podcast on that with the creators. It's probably covered a lot better than we could. So
yeah. So and again, but it's just like there's a little bit of a drought of Transformers fiction at the moment.
Well, when you take the license away from the main storyteller, that's what you get. Yeah. I hope there's something interesting coming though, like with this. Who's getting it? Frank Miller, right? Is that for sure?
Oh, Robert Kirkman.
Yeah, Robert Kirkman. Sorry, not Frank Miller.
Frank Miller.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where did that come from?
Right?
Like Paul's gonna start a branding rumor. They're like,
I'm not trying to start a rumor.
That would be hilarious. According to sources, it's actually going to be Frank Miller that gets the right.
According to, I am now sources. Yeah. No, that's
Transformers: The Dark Prime returns.
That'd be hilarious.
That would be.
Bumblebee's a girl now.
That would. That actually, what you just said, like, got me excited. I was like, "Ooh, that could be awesome!" Like, use this Nemesis Prime and tell a good story for once. Don't make it like something dumb. Try to make
IDW used to do that.
I did want to mention that if you're into IDW, you could join the book club on Sunday nights at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central on the TF Talk Discord. This week they're going to be covering Revolutionaries 5 through 8. So check that out. So as we're talking about that stuff, so
Cool.
Oh, Daniel says that Hasbro needs to upgrade their security about leaks. I feel like at this point it's just like they're just running with it. I don't know. I'm not sure what the.
It's free advertising.
They don't care. They don't care.
I don't think that they. I think as Rick had said before, that the problem is like with some of this stuff is they actually have to like spend money to do, like they actually have to action it, and so they don't like have the resources really to care enough about it. Like, and I think since it's their own product compared to like Marvel and Star Wars, like that's another license holder. Like they probably are more like, going after them than they are their own stuff. So,
well, and that's why with like Avengers toys, you don't get the big climactic scene toys until a year after the movie comes out because they don't trust Hasbro to have that information. So you're not going to get your Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness toys that you really want for another year or two from now, because those toys could have snuck out of the factory, and suddenly here's some big spoilers coming out. Same thing with the Avengers Endgame movie. Like Disney's got that stuff on lockdown, and
well, yeah, and I bet Hasbro just says like, listen, we don't have the capability to keep that under wraps the way you want it. And so that's probably just the agreement they have. It's like, fine, and you're going to sell less stuff in the time frame where you'd want to sell the most, which is right when it comes out. Yes, it's tricky. It's hard. There's so many hands in the pot and so many people involved in the creation of a multi-part toy that it's just the way it goes. I do wonder what it would take though for like them to actually pull up their bootstraps and actually try to stop it. I mean, you don't see this stuff on eBay very often anymore. You used to. That was where all this stuff leaked, was eBay. But now it's like all private sale stuff. It's all hush hush.
Right. Zaldron does bring up a good point that Lego spoils Marvel stuff. So,
They don't, though. When you look at the sets that like Lego comes out with prior to the movie, it's stuff that's typically in the trailer. It's like, all right, you have the Thor Love and Thunder Lego sets, and it's like all the stuff that's in that Lego set is in the trailer. So there was some stuff for Spider-Man No Way Home that I thought might be spoilers, and then it's like, oh, that stuff wasn't even in the movie. So I would say that argument doesn't carry a lot of weight.
I was actually shocked. This Top Gun movie came out, right? And like apparently on Memorial Day, everyone's like, I'm going to see the movie. I'm going to see the Maverick. And so like it actually did really well. That movie's like been done for 2 years. How does that not get out during that time? How are they able to keep a wrap on that? It's kind of impressive.
That was pretty crazy.
I'm shocked that it did so well. I have had no desire to see it. I enjoyed the original Top Gun movie as a kid. I think maybe since age 12, I haven't watched it once. Tom Cruise is a detractor for me, more so than anything else. So just the idea that people are like, this was the highest grossing Memorial Day weekend box office ever. And then the movie it beat out was a Pirates of the Caribbean sequel. It's one of those things that's just like, all right, I know I'm not into all the movies and all that sort of thing, but sometimes I just don't get it.
Well, now the re-release of Maverick makes a lot more sense. Like, people are going to want that toy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, Zaldron's citing a 5-year-old Lego set to back up his argument.
I remember the Lego set for Civil War spoiled the giant Ant-Man before anything.
So did the Marvel Legend toy.
Oh, that's the one he's talking about? Yeah, so I remember that one too.
Yeah, I can't think of anything recent that spoiled anything.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure again, like a lot of these, they try to put it on lockdown, and they probably spend more time trying to keep some of that stuff under wraps than they do with Transformers. It seems like with that, they just don't put a lot of effort into it. But anyway,
Yeah, and Lego's different. Where if you do hey, here's Iron Man fighting a bad guy, it's like kids will buy it
right?
because it's Iron Man fighting a bad guy. It doesn't have to be exactly from the movie. And then a year later, they do some scene specific set, and then the kids will still want it, and the nerds are like, "Yeah, give me that."
Doesn't Lego have their own factories though? Like, because they have a specific, they use a different type of plastic injection molding process than like action figures were used to, because they just repeat the same things so much. Like the brick shapes don't change over time, so they can like get more use. There's like two ways to do injection plastic molding, and Lego does it a way that only works because of what they do. And I think they have their own facilities, and that might help them have more control. Whereas Hasbro and most other toy companies across the world do not.
Well, yeah, I mean, because we talk about all the time with Transformers and mold degradation. It's like you got to imagine that those Lego bricks should have had mold degradation a dozen times over by now, if not 100 times over. But yeah, I mean, I think the formula they've been doing with Lego has been release something that's slightly more generic, or something that's in the trailers, and then a year or two later you'll get some scene specific. Because like just recently they put out a Lego set that was Luke battling 4 Dark Troopers in the hallway of the Imperial cruiser. So like that kind of tells you that level of, we're not going to do something like that until well after the fact.
I think it also has something to do with production time, because like they, at least, with Transformers, like you look at the movie lineage, and like, they were working off 2D artwork, not like they have no idea Optimus Prime is going to have a sword come out of his arm and like kill Bone Crusher, because they hadn't seen the movie, but they already had to make all those toys. And then when they had a chance to like quick do the premium version, they're like, let's put that sword in there, like, because they'd seen the movie at that point.
Yeah.
And so like some of this stuff, you can't spoil something you don't know. So you have to kind of, they might just, the designers, like people that come up with the ideas and stuff, just might not get the tip off until they've actually seen the content along with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Like it just might be happenstance in certain ways, but
it has been interesting with the Disney Plus Marvel shows, where you're getting pretty soon after the show premieres, you're getting the digital renders of the toys that are coming out, for at least them telling you like, hey, yeah, we got toys coming out. And then the animated What If series had toys that came out pretty quickly, so that's going to be a different production time frame, and they probably have to nail down those designs a lot earlier.
It was probably after the Mandalorian and the Baby Yoda stuff and all that they're just like, oh crap, like we need to use this as like a money making opportunity here for like the next thing.
Yeah.
So.
They really messed that one up. That was so great to watch them scramble together. Like, oh God, people like the Baby Yoda. Oh my God, we thought they're gonna like the droid.
Right. Well, they had a bunch of those too. Like I can't remember what in Last Jedi what those little bird things were. They thought that was going to be a big thing. That porgs, yeah, that never took off. But the Baby Yoda that they were just completely blindsided by, and like that just sells like hotcakes now. I mean, when you go down to Disney World and all that, I mean, it's just Baby Yoda all over, whatever that. What's the child, like, or whatever it's called?
Grogu,
thank you.
Yeah.
So
my 2-year-old knows his name.
But yeah, it's crazy.
Nothing's better than Baby Yoda though. Like they can't get away from it. That's what it's called. Yeah. They just like, they're so pissed that they didn't know it was going to be good that they just like, we will not call any of this product Baby Yoda. It is not. It is Grogu, and that is what we call it, right, sir. This is a Wendy's.
Anyway.
I know that wasn't how the joke really goes.
So hopefully we'll have a microcasters this week. I apologize for last week. I got tied up with some stuff myself, and then we weren't able to have it. But hopefully we can have it this week. So I apologize about the non-frequent schedule of that particular show. And then hopefully we can also have a oof my wallet at some point too. We'll see. So
And hopefully at some point in the future, Lucas will have an actual backdrop.
yeah, one day. So yeah, that too. So
What is on the ground, on the laying on its back? Is that looks like a Nemesis Prime. I thought it was the new Black Convoy.
That's the laser.
Oh, it looked like it was pink.
What's in the Ziploc bag next to Galvatron?
Oh, I don't know, man. We're not gonna worry about the toys and stuff that are just randomly sitting on my shelf. So, anyway, all right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. Thanks to everyone in the chat this week. Thanks to Zaldron. Thanks to Ron. Thanks to Ruin. Thanks to Catherine. Thanks to Josh. Thanks to Daniel. Thanks to Ilmatic Prime. I think I got everybody. So, but thank you guys, and we will see you next week.
Next time.